Good day, everyone. The guidance personnel would like to welcome you all to the conduct of the orientation on the revised implementation of homeroom guidance during crisis situation and guidelines on the counseling and referral system of learners for school year 2021 to 2022. My name is Efren Escola, and it's my pleasure to host for today's virtual event. To start, let us put ourselves in silence for a prayer, and let us put a patriotic gesture afterwards for the singing of the national anthem.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, telas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magtitindig. Luman ang araw ng walhagin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya ng pagkay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Before we proceed to the acknowledgement of the participants, let me lay out the house rules that all of us must abide and read to you some few reminders. First, mute your microphone when you are not talking. Avoid noisy distractions while others are speaking. Second, stay seated and stay present. Sit up straight and don't make big extraneous movements, and always give your attention. Third, if you have a question, please jot it down or you can write it in the message box. It will be entertained later. Fourth, attendance link will be provided for easy monitoring of attendance. And lastly, fifth, evaluation link after the open forum will be posted. Evaluation responses will be the basis for the certificate of participation. I think that would be all for the preliminaries. And now, to do the acknowledgement of the participants, help me welcome our marvelous and ever-exuberant Senior High Guidance Counselor, Ma'am Orga Tang.
To our dynamic school principal of Davao City National High School, Ma'am Evelyn E. Magno, brilliant speakers, facilitators, and participants of this Google Meet online conference, a pleasant afternoon to all. In a few minutes from now, we are going to start the orientation on the revised implementation of homeroom guidance during crisis situation and guidelines on the counseling and referral system of learners for school year 2021-2022. But before anything else, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the following individuals in helping us to realize this significant virtual meeting. In behalf of DCNHS Guidance Center, I would like to give our heartfelt thanks to the following people who contributed a lot to make this event a successful one. First, to our very active school principal, Ma'am Evelyn A. Magno, for the continuous support she extends to us. To our assistant principal for operation, Ma'am Binjel A. Licias, and senior high school assistant principal, Sir Jeffrey C. Bacalso, for the motivation. To the department heads and curriculum heads for the guidance, wisdom, and knowledge you have shared. To our speakers and facilitators for responding the invitation of imparting your ideas and expertise about the topic that you are going to discuss later. To my colleagues in Guidance Center for always lending your precious time, your cooperation with the department has been always great. And of course, to all class advisors from grade 7 to 12 who are the main participants of this conference, thank you for responding to the call of attending this conference. Despite the fact that you are busy with your paperworks, you still manage to spare your time for this. A million thanks to all the helping hands and bright minds. We couldn't make it without your support. Once again, thank you and good day to all of us.
Thank you, Ma'am Marga. That's wonderful. To officially welcome us warmly to this orientation, we have the ever-exquisite, hard-working, our very own principal, Ma'am Evelyn E. Magno. A round of applause.
I commend all the grade level heads and the guidance office for organizing this activity for the benefit of all class advisors, especially the new ones who have been given this important responsibility of being second parents in the classroom. A good classroom starts with a good advisor, and this kind of orientation is what really sets off that environment. I also commend all the advisors who are actively participating in this orientation. This shows your commitment to the causes of the Department of Education. Being class advisors, you are in a position of power to help others. You will be in close contact not just with the students but with their parents as well. This position gives you tremendous influence on the life of the learners. As class advisors, you will encounter many student issues. With this orientation, you will learn or relearn everything there is to know about the homeroom guidance and the guidance and referral system. Learn as much as you can. Ask questions if there is a need. This is for your students. This is in line with your important job of not just being teachers, but also being second parents to our students in our school. Have fun with this insightful orientation. Thank you and good day.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that inspiring message. It is evident that some of us are getting flimsy and worried. But don't worry. Just to keep our blood circulated, even if just seated, we have prepared an energizer for you. Let's do this!
Hey guys, today we wanted to do a special dance for people who are in a chair for whatever reason or can't use their legs as much. So this entire dance is done sitting down, and the idea is that you just have to really exhaust yourself by really engaging your core, using your arms, and just give it loads pretty much. It's an awesome song. It's Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop That Feeling. Song in the summer. Thank you for tuning in. Please do subscribe if you enjoy this, and yeah, share with your friends. And here we go.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it, moving so phenomenally. Come on, like the way we rock it, so don't stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on, all those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't be control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. Come on, like the way we rock it, so don't stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on, all those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. Can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling, yeah. So keep dancing. Oh, I can't stop the. 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 Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. Everybody say.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks to my awesome backing chair dancers, and have a super day. Bye!
I think we are all set to listen. For our first presenter, may I give you our ever stunning, humble guidance counselor of grade 9, Miss Junlet Orosio, to give us the orientation on the revised implementation of the homeroom guidance. Miss Junlet?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Janlet B. Orosio, RGC, to discuss the homeroom guidance procedure, assessment, monitoring, and evaluation as indicated in the MCI Series 2021-346 or the revised implementation of homeroom guidance during crisis situation for school year 2021-2022. Homeroom guidance shall not be viewed as a formal learning area like edukasyon sa pagpapakatao and the like. It shall be treated as a program that will help learners develop the competencies needed in the three domains. These are the social, personal, career, and academic development domains. Third, class advisors shall be assigned to implement the program with the technical assistance of the guidance counselor. Fourth, on teaching load. Teaching homeroom guidance shall be equivalent to one teaching load on top of the teacher's advisory and subjects load. Fifth, on class program. The homeroom guidance shall be scheduled once a week. Sixth, on time allotment. Time allotment for homeroom guidance is 1 hour per week from grades 1 to 12, while for kindergarten, it will be included in their blocks of time. Seventh, on learning modality. The homeroom guidance shall be delivered in different learning modalities depending on the needs of the learners and the school's capability. Eighth, on learning materials. The homeroom guidance self-learning modules will be issued by the Department of Education through the Bureau of Learning Resources. Ninth, on medium of instruction. The self-learning modules are written in English, but the regions may opt to translate the learning material in their mother tongue or any language convenient to the learners to ensure participation and interaction during the session and better understanding of the concepts. 10th, collaboration with the family and community is also encouraged in order to create a venue for the learners in developing such life skills. 11th, on orientation and capacity building. Central Office, through the Bureau of Curriculum Development, shall conduct orientation and capacity building to region and division supervisors in charge of guidance and counseling. 12th, on Learners Development Assessment Tool. Homeroom guidance assessment results shall be distributed and discussed by the class advisor during the parent-teacher conference. This shall be issued as an attachment to the learner's report card or SF9. Later, I will show the Learner's Development Assessment tool to be attached in the report card. 13th, DepEd schools shall include all expenses relative to homeroom guidance in their annual improvement plan and school improvement plan. For 14th, non-implementation or improper implementation of homeroom guidance shall be subject to existing applicable administrative actions. Let us now move on to the roles and responsibilities of DepEd offices. For school, the school head supervises and monitors the implementation of homeroom guidance and ensures that proper intervention for each learner will be provided by doing the following: A. Planning for the annual homeroom guidance implementation and monitoring. C. Allocating budget for homeroom guidance that is included in the school improvement plan and annual implementation plan. D. Adhering to the stipulated loading of teachers and class programming for school year 2021-2022. E. Providing the necessary equipment and supplies. F. Strengthening partnership with stakeholders. G. Orienting the teachers, parents, learners, and other stakeholders. H. Creating mechanisms that would ensure efficient distribution and retrieval of homeroom guidance modules and outputs. I. Preparing and conducting homeroom guidance class observation. And last, submitting the homeroom guidance school implementation report. The roles and responsibilities of guidance counselor or guidance designate serves as the program manager and ensures the correct content and pedagogy of homeroom guidance in school by doing the following. A. Assist the school head in planning for the annual homeroom guidance implementation and monitoring. B. Prepare the annual budget proposal on homeroom guidance implementation. C. Conduct the orientation of teachers, parents, learners, and other stakeholders. D. Coordinate with the class advisors on the implementation of homeroom guidance. E. Provide technical assistance to class advisors and other guidance services or interventions to learners without violating the provisions stipulated in the Republic Act 9258 or the Guidance and Counseling Act of 2004. The roles and responsibilities of class advisor in school is to serve as homeroom guidance implementer in the class by doing the following. A. Distribution, facilitation, and retrieval of homeroom guidance, SLMS, and outputs in different learning modalities. B. Evaluation and discussion of learners' development assessment results to the learners and parents quarterly. D. Referral of learner to the guidance counselor only if counseling intervention or other guidance services are needed. And E. Collaboration with co-teachers and parents in developing competencies of the learners at home. Roles and responsibilities of Schools Division Office. Curriculum Implementation Division, through the ESP Supervisor in coordination with the School Governance and Operations Division, through its designated guidance and counseling focal person, serves as the division program manager of the homeroom guidance and coordinates with the guidance counselor or guidance designate of schools. Roles and responsibilities of Regional Office. The Curriculum and Learning Management Division, ESP Supervisor in coordination with the Education Support Services Division, through its designated guidance and counseling focal person, serves as the program manager in the region. Roles and responsibilities of Central Office. The Bureau of Curriculum Development serves as the program manager in the Central Office. The focal person ensures the correct curriculum articulation and consolidates annual report on the conduct of homeroom guidance. Second, the Bureau of Learning Delivery ensures that appropriate pedagogical approaches are employed on how to deliver the curriculum content. The Bureau of Learning Resources ensures the availability of learning resources to the field units. Let us now move on to the assessment of learners' development and monitoring of the program. The homeroom guidance shall utilize the learner's development assessment tool as shown on screen for grades 7 to 10, for grades 11 to 12, learner's development assessment to be rated per quarter. Assessment of learners' development shall be guided by the following verbal descriptions. No chance to observe, NO. The learner did not submit outputs or has not shown any of the target competency in a particular quarter. Needs improvement, or NI. The learner accomplished and submitted 30% of the output in a particular quarter or has not acquired the target competencies. Developing, or D, the learner accomplished and submitted 60% of the output in a particular quarter or has acquired some of the target competency. Sufficiently developed, or SD, the learner accomplished and submitted 90% of the output in a particular quarter or has acquired the target competency. Developed and commendable, or DC, the learner accomplished and submitted 100% of the output in a particular quarter and acquired the target competency and showed commendable application in real-life situation. Learners' development shall be assessed through their portfolio and performance tasks. Conduct of homeroom guidance is mandatory, but this is not part of the academic rating. Grades are just descriptive. Needs improvement description shall not be treated as failed but shall indicate the need for intervention from school and home. Guidance counselor and parent need to work together to provide intervention for students with needs improvement at the end of each quarter. The monitoring and evaluation shall be done from September 2021 to July 2022 or as scheduled by the department. For monitoring and evaluation in the school level, the school head leads the monitoring in coordination with the guidance counselor or guidance designate or advocate. School head ensures the evaluation of the program with the help of the guidance counselor using the homeroom guidance observation tool. This is the homeroom guidance class observation tool to be used by the school head or department head in the monitoring and evaluation of the conduct of homeroom guidance program. The class advisor shall be rated 0 to 4 with 0 for no chance to observe, 1 not observed, 2 observed but insufficient, 3 sufficiently observed, and 4 sufficiently observed and commendable. Monitoring and evaluation in schools division level. The edukasyon sa pagpapakatao supervisor under the Curriculum Implementation Division in coordination with the guidance counselor designated in the division office leads the monitoring using the homeroom guidance monitoring tool in the division level. Division monitoring results shall be submitted to the regional ESP supervisor. This is the Homeroom Guidance School Implementation Tool to monitor and evaluate the school. The school shall be monitored in the following areas: curriculum implementation and compliance, delivery process, assessment of learners' development, supervision of homeroom guidance implementation, and administrative concerns. Monitoring and evaluation in the regional level, ESP supervisor under the CLMD in coordination with the SSD focal person for guidance and counseling leads the monitoring in the regional level, focusing on the entire implementation of the homeroom guidance. They shall submit the annual regional report on the implementation of homeroom guidance to the Bureau of Curriculum Development on or before July 12, 2022. In the national level monitoring and evaluation, the Bureau of Curriculum Development leads the overall monitoring and evaluation of homeroom guidance. This shall take effect in school year 2021 to 2022 and succeeding years immediately upon publication in the DepEd website. These are the following references of the MCI Series 2021-346. Thank you and keep safe, everyone.
Thank you, Ma'am Junlet, for that insightful message. I hope that came across to everyone. For the second presenter, to talk about counseling and referral system, we have Mr. Mark Anthony V. Bercando, RGC, RPM, LPT, Supervising Education Program Specialist from DepEd Central Office. It will be then followed by Ms. Jonah Christine Valdez in the continuation of the counseling and referral system.
A mentally healthy afternoon, everyone. Shout out to all our GCs joining this event. I am also happy to be with the regional and division supervisors, school heads, guidance designates, and other DepEd personnel. We see each other again for another guidelines relevant to mental health, a document that is very close to the heart of all mental health professionals in the Department of Education. My task today is to discuss some important provisions in the DMOUCI number 2021-359, or the Counseling and Referral System for Learners for School Year 2021 to 2022. Hence, my sharing will involve the following discussion agenda. We will talk about the conduct of counseling, its modalities and procedures in the context of DepEd. I will also share some inputs on case notes which has been modified considering the setup in public schools and the standard operating procedures in managing suicidal situations with learners. Again, I would like to emphasize that the guidelines will always be compliant to the latest IATF policies. So in case they made sudden or drastic changes, we will respond accordingly. Since part of my task is the counseling procedures, allow me to magnify some important points presented in the definition of counseling. Counseling is a well-planned, goal-oriented, and short-term interventions that aims to help learners manage and overcome issues or concerns that hinder them to attain success. Its process aids learners to define the problems, its sources, options, and pros and cons, which facilitate them to decide and act appropriately. A well-planned counseling involves proper scheduling, adequate preparation of guidance counselor. He or she does the necessary review of the files of the learner before the actual session, asks feedback or background about the situation of the learner from his or her immediate family or party who made the referral, and the preparedness of the counseling to use the mutually agreed counseling modality. Of course, we have to be sensitive and mindful in terms of the counseling modality being used during this pandemic to ensure the safety and, of course, not sacrificing the confidentiality of our session. Let me emphasize the significance on the clarity of counseling goals to be set with the counseling. This will avoid the session from going around in circles, which would result to meaningless and exhausting interaction between the counselor and the counselee. The attainment of the goals serves as indicator to terminate the session and or set another goal depending on the progress of the counseling. Counseling is also a short-term intervention within the school. RGCs have to be mindful if the case at hand merits outside intervention by other mental health professionals, such as psychologists, psychiatrists, and the like. Thus, RGC have to be familiar or at least should have a functional knowledge on the criteria of the different mental health conditions specified in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health or DSM-5 or on International Classification of Diseases or ICD-11, which was released on June 18, 2018. On the average, for the individual counseling, the session will last approximately 50 to 55 minutes or an hour. This time allotment is considered to be a therapeutic hour, although there are practicing counselors who will offer 45-minute sessions or an average of 5 to 9 sessions per case. Again, the actual number of sessions will depend on the case. Being mindful of the red flags of counselor's behavior and cognition will set the parameters if he or she is for school counseling or has to be attended to by other mental health professionals. Since there are administrators, teachers, and other non-RGCs who are with us, let me take this opportunity to share with you the appropriate and inappropriate activities for school counselors as cited by ASCA or the American School Counseling Association, which is one of the most respected and trusted institutions in the field of counseling and in the world. I know that we are still refining our practices in DepEd and in the process of removing the archival beliefs on counseling. So just to contribute to the promotion of correct practices in counseling, I included the following slides. So the first column enumerates the appropriate activities for school counselors, while the second one shows the opposite. In here, the school counselor should be doing advisement and appraisal for academic planning, orientation, coordination, and academic advising for new students, interpreting cognitive aptitude and achievement tests, providing counseling to students who are tardy or absent, providing counseling to students who have disciplinary problems, providing short-term individual and small group counseling services to students. While they should not be doing these things such as building the master schedule, coordinating paperwork and data entry of all new students, coordinating cognitive aptitude and achievement testing programs, signing excuses for students who are tardy or absent, performing disciplinary actions, or assigning discipline consequences, providing long-term counseling in schools to address psychological disorders. I would like to underscore that guidance office should not be used as a scarecrow to students. It should be perceived as a sanctuary to resolve their well-being issues. Hence, counselors should possess a non-threatening and trusting personality and relationship with students. They are not supposed to be part of any disciplinary decisions in school, nor have a dual or multiple relationships with their counselees. Counselors should also be doing the following, like consulting with the teachers to schedule and present school counseling curriculum based on the developmental needs and needs identified through data, interpreting student records, analyzing grade averages in relationship to achievement, consulting with teachers about building classroom connections, effective classroom management, and the role of non-cognitive factors in student success, protecting student records and information per state and federal regulations. Of course, this has to be contextualized in the Philippine setting, consulting with the school principal to identify and resolve student issues, needs, and problems, and avoid doing the following. So these are the things that that the counselor should not be doing. No? So covering classes, or we call this substitution when teachers are absent, or to create teacher planning time. Maintaining student records, this is not a work for counselor. Computing grade point averages, supervising classrooms or common areas, keeping clerical records, assisting with duties in the principal's office. Hence, I highly suggest to maximize our RGCs on the matters that they are trained and educated to do. Furthermore, counselors should be advocating for students at individual education plan meetings, student study teams, and school attendance review boards as necessary. Analyzing disaggregated school-wide and school counseling program data, and they should be discouraged to do the following tasks. No? Coordinating school-wide individual education plans. Perhaps this is a work of a liaison officer or other personnel, not the counselor. No? Student study teams response to intervention plans, MTSS, and school attendance review boards. And of course, serving as a data entry clerk. That should not be the work of a counselor or an RGC. As we all know, our country is yet to reach its glorious and golden days of counseling or mental health. To be realistic about it, we still have a long way to go as we address little by little the different issues that haunt our counseling profession. I hope that we will have that stamina to pursue the correct practices, which should always be evidence-based. As we do this, we have to make allies, not enemies, so they will join our advocacy. Again, we have to make allies, not enemies. For other people, like the officials and those who make decisions for our country, to join our advocacy. Counseling and referral services shall be made available for all learners. An RGC shall conduct counseling to any learner following the existing ethical and legal as stated in RA 9258 provision for its practice and the health and safety standards set by the Interagency Task Force or the IATF. So counseling must be voluntary. Learners shall not be forced to undergo counseling against their will. It must be provided after a referral was made by a teacher, a student, any school personnel, a parent, or other significant person who may be related to the child being referred to who shows the following behaviors or indications. No? Behavioral or conduct problem, self-harming behavior or suicide ideation, poor social skills, poor academic performance, difficulty in adapting to current situation, and signs of distress characterized by physical deterioration, lack of focus, and motivation. While we all know that counseling is being conducted generally in face-to-face before pandemic, we identified other modalities to do it just like the academic learning. It can be performed in different modalities. So we have the online counseling and telecounseling. Online counseling is through the identified platforms that are safe for counseling and can ensure the confidentiality of the session. Telecounseling is the use of telephone or mobile phone by both the guidance counselor and the learner. So let's discuss the two counseling modalities one by one. So the guidance counselor will ask the counselee to accomplish the intake interview form, which shall be sent to the attending guidance counselor prior to the first session. It can be sent through email or physical submission. For first-timers in counseling, the learner must accomplish the statement of confidentiality or the Annex A, no? And a learner's data form or Annex E. In the event, of course, we know that there are cases of urgency, no? In the event that a learner urgently needs a session with a guidance counselor, the parent or guardian should help the learner accomplish the forms, or if not possible, the guidance counselor shall fill out the forms through an interview with the learner. You are now seeing the Annex E, which is the counselor's data form, which doesn't need further elaboration as the form is self-explanatory. The second page contains health data of our counselee. Take note, we are asking here if they have history of any ailments or family members who may have mental health conditions or issues that may directly or indirectly affecting the counselee. The guidance counselor will set the schedule of the first session based on their mutually, the guidance counselor and of course the counselee agreed time and date, including the platform to be used. The guidance counselor shall ensure the platform access of the counselee, including the confidentiality of the session. Both the guidance counselor and the counselee should be in a private space before and during the session. Video and audio recording, I think this is one of the issues with online or even telecounseling. No? So video and audio recording of the session is not allowed unless there is a mutual consent between the guidance counselor and the parent of the counselee, of course, including the counselee. Both guidance counselor and the counselee must ensure that they have enough technological resources. This, of course, in a nutshell, an internet provision or load or data, and free from any glitches as much as possible to prevent disruption or confusion. The guidance counselor must also explain to the counselee how the session goes and its limitation using the identified platform. A follow-up session must be set by both parties as deemed necessary. Should the counseling case merit to be referred to an outside mental health professional, the referral process should be followed. I think this one will be discussed by the next speaker. Huh? So the guidance counselor shall document the session following the case notes provision stated in these guidelines. If the IITF will allow face-to-face interaction, just like now we are having, I think we will be having a pilot implementation of face-to-face, no? All relevant measures and guidelines shall be applied to face-to-face counseling. So counseling should always observe confidentiality, which includes counselee seeing a counselor, all contact information, including his or her counseling schedules. Counseling information does not appear in the counselor's education file. The counselor being the only person that can access the information discussed unless the counselee gives written permission for specific information to be shared. The slides you are seeing presents the exemption to confidentiality. Of course, there are things when the confidentiality has to be broken. One, if the counselor is becoming an imminent danger to him or herself, and or to others through thoughts of suicide or threats to harm other people. Second, if there is a reasonable suspicion of emotional and or physical neglect and or abuse, including sexual abuse of a minor. Of course, in basic education or in DepEd, we are dealing with minors. No? So we have to be careful and mindful in terms of any signs of abuse. In rare cases, courts will be asking counselors to testify about them, but only things that are being asked shall be divulged, not to the court. We don't need to mention the things that are not relevant, no, to the cases at hand. In terms of counseling procedure, the statement of confidentiality, it's in Annex A, will be sent to the parents or legal guardians to get their permission for their child to undergo counseling. Remember, counseling is a mental health intervention. Therefore, the parents should have enough knowledge and they agree, no, to subject their child or their kids, no, to counseling. Okay? Hence, the statement of confidentiality has to be signed by the parent or legal guardian of the learner. This form has to be, I think I already mentioned this, to ensure that they understand the scope and process of counseling of their child. So the guidance counselor conducts the intake interview that can be found in Annex B to get the necessary data essential for understanding the concerns of the counselee. The counselor may either close the session after the intake interview or proceed with the session for further counseling. If the session merits counseling after the intake interview, the guidance counselor conducts counseling and terminates the case as deemed necessary. Of course, if you conduct counseling and you think you still need to see the client after the initial interview or the intake interview, part of your plan will be the termination of the case. No? You are now seeing the intake interview form which can be used for the initial interview of the counselor. So the guidance counselor creates a counseling plan that can be found in Annex C. The guidance counselor sets the schedule of the sessions with the counseling. Okay, we also need to be mindful that our counseling is attending classes, no? Or if there are things that have to be considered relevant to the scheduling of session, then it has to be clarified. Each counseling session is usually 40 minutes to an hour, long depending on the nature and seriousness of the case. So the case must be terminated once the counseling goals have been attained. If the counselee withdraws from the session, the guidance counselor shall document at least 2 attempts to make a follow-up. Okay? In the event that the counselee does not respond, the guidance counselor shall indicate in the counseling record that the counselor that the learner or the counselee did not pursue the session anymore. Guidance counselor shall refer the counselee to an outside specialist if the case requires clinical intervention or diagnosis. Of course, as an RGC, we have to be sensitive and mindful of the cases, no, that we can handle and those that we cannot handle. Personally, I believe that no one has the entire specialization to handle all the kind of cases that our client would have. No? Meaning to say, let's be mindful if we are already portraying a jack of all trades characteristic because we cannot handle, no, things that are beyond our specialization or educational preparation. Okay, so all sessions must be documented through case notes that is in Annex D. Now let's talk about case notes since I have been mentioning it in the previous slides. No? So in the guidelines, it is defined as a documentation of the entire counseling service availed by the learner. It includes an accurate account of what went on in a session, also known as a progress note, and it aims to make a record of the counseling or clinical management of the entire case. So I got this from American Counseling Association 2018. Though there are other templates or even uh, maybe form in terms of case notes, later on I would be showing to you how it looks like for DepEd purposes. So documenting the counseling session gives the guidance counselor the opportunity to reflect and appreciate what transpired in the session. He or she can check if it helps to achieve the overall goals of the counseling and serves as a guide on the direction to take during the next session. Part of the guidance counselor's preparation to see a continuing counseling is to revisit previous session notes and counseling plan to ensure the delivery and continuity of care to the counselee. The organized documentation of counseling is very important, most especially when the counselee's thoughts and behaviors manifest the intention to harm oneself or others. The guidance counselor shall be able to document what was said, how it was evaluated, and the response of the guidance counselor. This will show what prompted the guidance counselor to respond to the counseling in a particular way and what made him or her decide not to take any action given the situation of the counseling. By creating an accurate and complete documentation of the counseling service, the guidance counselor ensures that the counseling sessions are beneficial to the counselees or the learners, conforms to their ethical obligation to provide the needed service, and ensures a legally defensible record of counseling practice. Of course, we will not wait to any court order to require us to make a legally defensible record of counseling practice. We have to be proactive with this one, as our profession requires accountability. Remember, we can make or break a life with the way we do counseling. Okay? So we know that case notes have different looks and forms depending on the references we use. In other graduate school, no, or in some institutions, they follow 4Ps, or in other institutions, no, they have a different way of doing this. Considering the setup and context of DepEd, we crafted a case notes template that includes the following. So what are those? So topics discussed during the session, how the session is related to the counseling plan, how the counseling plan goals and objectives are met, interventions and techniques used during the session and their effectiveness, counseling observations, progress or setbacks, signs, symptoms, and any increase or decrease in the severity of behaviors as they relate to the main concern, homework assigned, results and compliance if there's any, the counselee's current strengths and challenges. So these are the things that we expect to be included in the case notes. No? So all guidance personnel are bound to handle all information regarding counselees with strict confidentiality following the RA 10173 or the Data Privacy Act of 2012. The guidance counselor should always see to it that all pertinent documents of the learners are safeguarded. The attending guidance counselor is the only person authorized to have access to the guidance records of the learners assigned to him or her. Even the principal, the advisors, or other DepEd officials should not have a hand on the records of your counselees. No? In the absence of the former guidance counselor, the newly assigned guidance counselor is allowed to access the records only as deemed necessary. I am now showing you a case notes template attached as Annex D. We are aware of the demands and volume of work of our guidance counselors. However, we also need to keep track how each case is being handled. As I mentioned, our profession entails us to be accountable. Okay? We also adhere to the principle of medical profession of do no harm. Hence, everything that we do has to be recorded in terms of, or maybe with the use of case notes. No? So let me now move on with the standard operating procedures in managing suicidal situations with learners. So consider and assess for risk factors for suicide. So these include the previous suicide attempts, depression, alcohol or drug use problems, other mental health conditions such as psychosis or bipolar disorder, severe emotional distress, chronic pain or illness, experiences of trauma, for instance, sexual and interpersonal violence, war, abuse, discrimination, etc. Recent loss, for instance, unemployment, bereavement, relationship breakup, or financial problems. According to the World Health Organization or the WHO, suicide is one of the leading causes of death among 15 to 19-year-olds, and half of all mental health conditions in adulthood start by 14 years of age. WHO also identified the following signs to look out for among learners: expressing thoughts or feelings about wanting to end their life, or talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live, talking about feelings of loneliness, withdrawal from others, or social isolation, being a burden to others or in unbearable pain, agitation, violence, distress, or difficulty communicating, observed during a consultation or mentioned as problems, a change in eating or sleeping habits, signs of cutting or self-harm, arranging end-of-life personal affairs such as writing a will, and or absence of supportive family members or other psychosocial support. So as an RGC or maybe the attending person at that time, we must provide the learner or the counselor with the details of mental health professionals if possible, and maintain regular contact initially by making another appointment and activate psychosocial support. So what's the psychosocial support of the learner? Of course, the friends, the family, and other people who really love this person. And community resources, and provide details of community services including crisis lines. If the learner has a complete plan, including the means and the intention to die, stay with the person, remove the means of suicide, consult other mental health professionals, and assign a family or a staff member to stay with the person so they are not left alone until further specialist support is in place. We also itemize the procedures in handling suicide situation. So schools shall always take seriously all suicidal behavior and comments of learners. An interview with the learners will be immediately conducted once reported. So when any peer, teacher, or other school personnel identifies a learner who has directly or indirectly expressed suicidal thoughts or ideation, or demonstrated other warning signs such as information on social networking websites, writings, art, or other expression of suicidal thinking or activities, suicide risk will be raised. It is critical that any school personnel who have knowledge of someone with suicidal thoughts or behaviors communicate this information immediately and directly to a registered guidance counselor to assess and refer the learner. And then the school head should also be notified so that the learner receives appropriate attention. Remember, you are not alone in this situation. You also need to notify not only for the information of the principal, but for the principal to give you the immediate assistance and help just in case you need the student to be referred to outside institution or specialist. In case of critical or emergency situations, so of course there are times which are really a life and death situation. No? So you need to call the law enforcement or security personnel if a learner possesses the means. So what are those? Gun, razor, rope, heels, etc. to commit suicide. Or if the learner is not at school or has left the school and a plan to kill oneself is discovered. Or if the person is unwilling or unable to make a plan to keep themselves safe. No? Meaning to say, he or she makes himself or herself vulnerable to any dangerous condition. The attending school personnel should stay with the learner. No? So no learner expressing suicidal thoughts should be sent home alone or left alone during the intervention process. The guidance counselor or the attending school personnel must ensure that the learner will be endorsed to his or her parent or guardian. They shall immediately seek the help of other mental health professionals like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So the following questions adapted from Ask Suicide Screening Questions or ASQ of the National Institute of Mental Health, USA, may be used to check if the suicidal tendency of the learners. In the guidelines, we made a translation of this in Filipino, so we can make use of that. So questions like, did you wish you were dead in the past few weeks? Or, hinihiling mo ba ang iyong kamatayan sa mga nakalipas na linggo? Pakiramdam mo ba na mas mabuti ang iyong kalagayan at pamilya kung nawala ka na sa mga nakalipas na linggo? Or have you felt that you or your family would be better off if you were dead in the past few weeks? Nakaiisip ka bang magpakamatay sa mga nakalipas na linggo? Or have you been having thoughts about killing yourself in the past week? Or nasubukan mo na bang magpakamatay dati? Have you ever tried to kill yourself? Nakaiisip ka bang magpakamatay ngayon? Are you having thoughts of killing yourself right now? If the learner answers no to all questions, screening is complete. It is not necessary to ask question number 5. Again, it is not necessary to ask question number 5. No intervention is necessary. However, please take note, clinical judgment can always override a negative screening. That's why we as an RGC still needs to develop our clinical eye to really see if the answers of our client or our counselee complement to their emotional reaction or even to the feelings that they had. So if a learner answers yes to any of the questions or refuses to answer, they are considered at risk. The learner should be referred to further evaluation if that's the case. Keep the learner inside. The room should be clear of any dangerous things. So if you have your scissors or office supplies that could be used to harm oneself, you maybe get rid of them for a while the learner or the client is inside your guidance office. And then when there appears to be any threat of self-harm, contact the parents or guardian immediately. If the learner identifies safety risks associated with notifying a parent or guardian, for instance, the parent would trigger the suicidal attempts of the learner, then contact another trusted adult or adult family member identified by the learner or counselee. If a parent is unavailable, call the National Center for Mental Health or the NCMH for help on mental health concerns through its new crisis hotlines 0917-899-USAP or 8727 or 989 USAP. The attending guidance counselor or school personnel should inform the school head about the suicidal tendency of the learner. Again, we have to inform our immediate boss, no? For them to aid us also with the help that we need to handle the case. If the needed professional help is not yet available, we understand that there are some areas in the Philippines that mental health professionals are actually not present, or it would take them several kilometers or mountains to get a mental health professional. The guidance counselor or even the parent or the attending school personnel must ensure the safety of the learner. They shall have an arrangement or plan on how to maintain safety at home, designate the responsibilities of each person, and include a review date to ensure follow-through and coordinated decision-making. Of course, once the learner or the client manifests suicidal ideation or attempts to end his or her life, it's imperative that mental health professional like psychologists or psychiatrists would be maybe would be communicated or would be uh, contacted by the guidance counselor or the family members. So let me end my sharing with a quote from the former First Lady of USA, Michelle Obama. You may not always have a comfortable life and you will not always be able to solve all of the world's problems at once. But don't ever underestimate the importance you can have, because history has shown that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own. Have a mentally healthy day, everyone. God bless.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat. So, narito tayo muli para sa pagtutuloy ng ating discussion tungkol sa Counseling and Referral System of Learners for School Year 2021-2022. So, kagaya nga ng nabanggit kanina, ito ay isa sa mga ating sisikapin na maisakatuparan para sa school year na ito. So, para sa aking topic, I will discuss about referral, case collaboration, counseling, supervision, and responsibilities per governance level. So kanina, ang pagtalakay po ni Sir Mark ay tungkol sa konteksto po ng counseling, nakatutok po siya sa counseling, while si Mamel naman po ay nag-discuss kanina ng tungkol sa background o doon sa pinanggalingan ng ating counseling and referral at kung bakit ito kinakailangan, no? So, ngayon naman ang magiging focus ko ay tungkol sa referral, no? Okay. So ano nga ba yung referral? So referral is one of the guidance services where learners are provided with assistance in obtaining specialized services. So for those of you who were able to attend the orientation on homeroom guidance and career guidance, sa ating background, paulit-ulit naman din sinasabi ni Sir Mark na mayroon tayong guidance and counseling services na kinakailangan na maipatupad sa ating mga paaralan, no? So kasama diyan ang information service, yan. So yan nakapaloob dyan ng homeroom guidance. Meron din tayong placement service. Yan naman po ang ating career guidance. At meron po tayong research and evaluation, follow-up, individual inventory, consultation, at makikita nyo dyan, meron tayong referral and counseling, no? So, yung dinidiscuss namin today ay basically tungkol sa counseling at sa referral. So, parte siya ng mga serbisyo na kinakailangan natin sa lahat ng paaralan. So, referral services or referral requires a wide range of internal partners. Example, our counselors, teachers, nurses, and school administrators. External partners like our government partners, non-government agencies and organizations, and individuals in the different professions, field, and interests that could address the learner's present issues, concerns, or problems, no? So napakalaki nung task natin in relation dito sa referral, no? Not just our guidance counselors, but also our school head, our teachers, our advisors, our career guidance advocates, our guidance advocates and guidance designates, no? Kasama po tayo dyan lahat. So in this DMOUCI number 359, okay, nakalagay dyan yung Annex G natin, no? So what does Annex G contain? We have the Annex G recommended referral mechanism in different situations. So prior to the referral of cases, schools and schools division office shall convene and create a plan of action relative to the referral of cases. So the school division superintendent shall ensure that referral services and counseling will be made available for all learners. In consideration to the different setup, number of RGCs, and other concerns, the following are recommended. So we have prepared three possible scenarios or possible concerns, no, in relation to counseling and referral, no. So number one, what is the possibility like for schools that do not have RGCs but have an RGC in the SDO level? So ano yung maaaring mangyari? So the school head shall assign a guidance advocate who will facilitate referral of cases to the school's division office level. So the guidance advocate shall facilitate the intake interview and other necessary forms, and if deemed necessary, submits the referral letter to the SDO guidance counselor. The SDO guidance counselor shall communicate with the referred learner, and the SDO guidance counselor shall accomplish the guidance plan and schedule the counseling session, no? So linawin lang po natin ang sinasabi natin dito para sa mga paaralan na walang RGC or Registered Guidance Counselors, ngunit meron silang RGC sa SDO level, no? So yan po yung pagdaraanan o yung referral mechanism na maaring mangyari. Okay. So on our screen, makikita ninyo yung sample na intake interview. So in our distribution of the DM, actually meron tayong attachment, but we will provide you with the Word file or the Word format of all the necessary annexes. Ayan, para magamit natin lahat sa ating mga paaralan. So this will be used from kindergarten to grade 12. So ito yung kaninang binanggit about intake interview form. This includes the name of the learner, the birth date, their gender, as well as their preferred language, no? So nakalagay dito, we are concerned about how things are going for you. Our session today will help us to discuss what's going on, okay, and what's not going so well. Everything is confidential except for those things that need to be discussed with others in order to help you. So dapat malinaw yan. Tapos meron tayong set of questions like, how would you describe your current situation? What problems are you experiencing? What are your main concerns? How serious are these matters for you at this time? No? So how long have you been in this problem, or how long have this been a problem? No? So what caused these problems? Do others, like parents, guardian, and friends, think there were other causes? If so, what do they say? Okay? And then, nakalagay dito, for interviewer or counselor only, yun sa dulo, no? Do not write anything below the line. So after natin na mag-gather yung mga information na kinakailangan based on the intake interview, meron tayo dito notes na ilalagay. Okay? So napakalinaw po in this particular intake interview. This is not yet counseling. Okay? Ang ating ginagawa dito ay hinahanap pa lamang natin ano yung pinakadahilan ng kanyang paglapit o ng kanyang concern, at ito po ay gagamitin natin na tool, ayan, upang ma-discover natin kung paano din yung tulong na kakailanganin niya for referral. Okay? And then, sa dulo po niyan, makikita din yung ating counselor's note. Okay. Also, in Annex G, okay, yung second naman na possible scenario, for schools and SDOs with no RGC. Say for example, talagang wala sa school or sa division office. What can be done pagdating sa referral? So for schools and SDOs, the school head shall assign a guidance advocate who will facilitate referral of cases to the SDO level. The guidance advocate shall facilitate the intake interview and other necessary forms. So the guidance advocate prepares the documents necessary to refer the learners to other counselors in nearest division or with a partner institution, no? So kanina, tingnan ninyo dito yung ating figure, no? Nakalagay dyan, guidance advocate facilitates the intake interview. Ito yung unang scenario, the guidance counselor in the nearby school. Yung pangalawang scenario naman, guidance counselor in the school's division office, okay? Or the guidance counselor from a partner organization or institution, no? So dito, kung wala talaga sa school at sa mismong SDO, tingnan natin yung availability doon sa kasunod o doon sa kalapit na SDO natin, no? Kung meron bang guidance counselor. Okay? And then our third scenario is for schools that do not have an RGC, but with a nearby school with RGC. So the school head shall assign a guidance advocate who will facilitate the referral of cases to the nearby school that has an RGC. And then the guidance advocate shall facilitate the intake interview and other necessary forms. So C, the guidance advocate prepares the documents necessary to refer the learners to guidance counselor in the nearby school. And D, the guidance counselor from the nearby school shall accomplish the counseling plan and schedule the counseling session, no? So dito makikita natin na maari din tayong mag-refer doon sa kalapit na school, no? O doon sa kalapit na institution, if that's the case. Okay. On the referral of learners, the teacher or advisor may refer the learner to the guidance counselor through the following procedure. Ito naman yung mangyayari sa loob ng school. So the teacher or advisor shall accomplish the attached referral form. Yan, yung kaninang pinakita natin. And then the referral form shall be submitted to the guidance counselor via electronic mail or physical submission while observing confidentiality. C, upon receipt of the referral form, the guidance counselor shall assess, evaluate, and provide the schedule for intake interview or other services that may deem necessary to address the needs of the learners. And then the guidance counselor shall inform the teacher or advisor that the learner has been given attention, no? So, ang tanong, ano yung amount of information na sasabihin natin dito sa ating teacher or advisor, no? For the guidance counselor, alam naman natin lahat yan as licensed guidance counselors. We are, kailangan natin i-observe yung utmost confidentiality sa ating mga cases. So in this case, say for example, the student was referred to you, ang binibigay lamang natin ay yung pinaka-overview, no? Nung kung paano yung magiging sitwasyon ng bata, ni-refer siya saan, or kung halimbawang very confidential ito, no? Sasabihin lang natin na ni-refer siya for this particular need, no? Halimbawa, if it's for counseling or if it's for other needs na kinakailangan ng bata, baka minsan legal din, no? So yun yung mga dapat nating isaalang-alang. So I hope the teachers or advisors will understand that once you refer your students to our guidance counselors, meron po tayong mga kinakailangan na maintindihan regarding the confidentiality. Okay. So here's Annex F. Okay. So I hope that all guidance offices will have this particular form. This is the counseling referral form. Ano yung laman niya, no? We included in the form some of the guidelines in referring the learners to the guidance counseling office, or kung ano man yung magiging tawag nyo, guidance and counseling office or a guidance counselor's office. Yan yung mga kinakailangan linawin na ninyo. So it may not be a GCO, but for this example, in Annex F, we use guidance counseling office, no? So letter A, You can find this in the left side of the form. Check the learner's behavior that indicate the need for help. No? So who will do this or who will accomplish this? The teacher or the advisor who will provide or who will possibly refer the learner to the guidance counselor. No? So first, check the learner's behavior that indicate the need for help. So a student who may need counseling would likely manifest the following behaviors. No? So halimbawa, this is in the context of both face-to-face and online learning. No? Since this is released for school year 2021-2022, we understand that there may be some possible items in the checklist that is also applicable dito sa ating face-to-face. No? So kung sakasakali, may katumbas naman siya. So first, talks aloud and distracts others in class, is often late or absent, performs very poorly in both oral and written exams, shows lack of interest and motivation in his or her studies, isolates himself or herself from the group, seems to be perpetually tired, anxious, depressed, irritable, angry, fails to submit work on time, manifests deterioration in grooming or hygiene, shows signs of dramatic weight loss or gain, and talks about suicide. No? So, maari ngayon, napaka-common nito ng mga ipinakita natin or inilagay natin dito, especially with the performance in their academics. No? So, may possibility na baka may underlying cause yung ganong klase ng performance. No? Makikita naman natin yan if it's consistent, especially for the class advisors. Beginning of school year, makita ninyo, nagpa-participate naman siya. And then in the middle, biglang nag-dwindle yung kanyang attendance, nagkaroon ng change doon sa kagustuhan o doon sa motivation. So there is a possibility that there is an underlying cause. Malalaman naman din natin yan kung talagang nawalan lang ba talaga siya ng interes o merong ibang mga bagay na gumugulo sa kanya. No? So other than this, maaari din kayong maglagay ng mga possible behavior na observe niyo sa bata na maaring maging cause o maging sabihin natin ating tungtungan o yung ating dahilan kung bakit kailangan siyang i-refer. No? So maaari din kasi ditong i-refer natin siya because may possibility na nagkaka-experience siya ng depression. No? I don't know, pero maaring nakikita niya, okay, or affected siya doon sa mga nangyayari ngayon. No? So the more na kinakailangan natin maging sensitibo tungkol sa mga bagay na ganito. Hindi lamang siya laging dahil ayaw niya mag-perform sa klase or ayaw niya laging magbigay ng kung ano yung requirement, pero baka nga may pinagdadaanan yung bata. No? So isa yan sa mga titignan natin. And then letter B, Letter B, talk to the learner about the need to seek professional help. No? So if you observe any of the above behaviors, here's how to proceed. First is to inform the learner and or the parent regarding the behavioral patterns that you have observed in a professional and confidential manner. Listen to the person's situation. Suggest to the learner and parents that they may consider availing of the counseling services provided by the GCO for free. No? And then respect the person being referred. A learner has the option to refuse a referral. However, if his or her behavior endangers one's well-being and those of others, it is our utmost responsibility to provide such help to the learner without necessarily getting his or her consent. No? So kanina, meron tayong narinig about dito sa suicide. Okay? Marami actually na mga unrecorded cases din or undocumented cases in relation sa suicide. Depende din dun sa values ng family. Minsan, ayaw din nila makipagtulungan sa ating mga guidance counselors. But definitely, dito, we need to impart to them or to tell them that we offer this kind of services sa ating mga DepEd schools. And we will try our best to give or to connect each other, no, dun sa ating counseling and referral system. Okay? Kasi we all know na talagang kulang ang ating mga guidance counselors. And we are all aware that marami din tayong limitations in relation sa guidance and counseling services. But we cannot stop there. Kinakailangan meron din tayong mekanismo kung paano natin ipagpapatuloy itong mga serbisyo na to, no? Lalong-lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya. Okay? So here, it is important that ma-realize ng learner natin na very, very important yung paghingi ng tulong o yung seeking professional help, no? Hindi naman ito to put blame on them or to put them on spotlight, but this is our way of telling them that we care for you, no? So in this situation, malinaw naman that our parents are really involved, no? Kinakailangan involved ang parents. And in most cases, kahit na wala pa tayong nakikita or wala pang manifestation ng suicide, we do something about the prevention, okay? Or proactive activities, no? In relation dito, para hindi naman tayo magkakaroon or hindi sila magkakaroon ng mga certain ideation, no? So kapag meron tayong, this is also in relation with homeroom guidance, meron tayong mga makikita or mapupunan ninyo yan sa kanyang mga responses in relation to guidance related or dito sa homeroom guidance, you can actually look into that and check with your counselor or your guidance counselor kung meron sa school if this particular incident or this response na sinasabi ng bata in a certain SLM or dun sa question sa SLM, no, yung answer niya sa SLM, yun ba talaga ay maaari nang maging dahilan kung bakit i-refer yung bata. And the way to communicate this is really, we will try our best, no, na i-communicate siya sa bata personally, on a personal level. Hindi siya pwedeng basta i-announce lamang sa GC or i-announce lamang natin through messenger, no? Kung maaari makausap natin mismo yung learner over the phone or kung kakayanin yung face-to-face. Okay? And then, the teacher or the advisor informs the GCO about their referral. So kapag na-accomplish na yung form na ito, inform yung guidance counseling officer or the office personnel regarding your referral, either by phone or personal visit at the guidance counseling office. So depende ito sa setup pa rin kung naka face-to-face na or kung possible, kung hindi pa rin naka face-to-face, yung iba nating means, no? So ask your student to schedule an appointment with a guidance counselor. In case of emergency, you may immediately accompany the student to the guidance and counseling office. Otherwise, you may inform the student that he or she can meet with the assigned guidance counselor during the regular working hours, no? So if halimbawa wala sa school, no, or hindi feasible yung pagkakaroon ng access sa guidance counselor, i-assist natin sila kung saan man, if it's in the nearest school, doon sa school kung saan sila nag-aaral, or doon sa other institutions or sa kasunod na division na pinakamalapit. So basta lang, ang importante dito ay mayroong mag-handle na guidance counselor for the referral for counseling. Okay? Now, in case a learner is referred for intervention because of an issue or concern that is beyond the capability, competency, or expertise of the guidance counselor, the following procedure shall be observed. No? So letter A, the guidance counselor shall inform the parent, learner, teacher, or advisor, only if necessary, and the school head about the referral. So consent shall be obtained from the parent or guardian. So it is very important that we as guidance counselors, we know also our limitations. There are cases na talagang hindi naman tayo trained to do it, no? Or trained to do such a case, no? So in that sense, Okay? Hindi mo siya babasahin lamang. This is for the guidance counselors. Hindi lamang ito matatapos dun sa babasa ka ng literature o ng isang study and then you can apply everything, no? Or you can do everything, no? So we need to recognize our limitations as guidance counselors. There are instances or there are a lot of instances na hindi lang counseling yung kinakailangan. Therefore, yung iba pang areas should be referred to other professionals, no? So the schools or the schools division office shall refer the learner to the nearest and most accessible institution that provides mental health services, no? So this is in relation to mental health. So definitely, kung kakailanganin na ng iba pang mga intervention, okay, kinakailangan i-refer sila sa other institutions. We cannot do that alone as guidance counselors. And then the guidance counselor shall prepare the letter of referral to the specific professional and agency or institution, and the letter shall include the basic information about the learner, the reason for referral, and the type of intervention needed. No? So, dun sa type of intervention needed, there might be something else na kakailanganin. Pero siguro yung parang pinaka-generalized or general na intervention na kinakailangan. And then the guidance counselor shall monitor the learner's progress or status by securing the contact information of the professional and agency or organization where the learner is referred. No? So it is very important that when we say referral, hindi lamang siya natatapos doon sa pagpapadala ng bata doon sa institution kung saan natin sila nire-refer or sa professional kung kanino natin sila nire-refer. It is important that in the referral mechanism, tayo rin ay may sariling monitoring of the learner's progress. No? So yan yung mga task ng ating mga guidance counselors. Okay. So for our next topic, we also included in the DM about case collaboration, no? So the department recognizes that there are emerging mental health issues and concerns that have to be dealt with the guidance counselor. Hence, case collaboration among guidance counselors in the schools division office should be practiced, no? So first, this case collaboration entails that the guidance counselor in school may consult or ask for feedback from guidance counselors from other schools or division offices, if applicable, on the counseling case he or she is handling. No? So the case collaboration shall focus on the presenting case, counseling plan, and other interventions while the identity of the concerned counselee shall remain anonymous. So the guidance counselor from the school or division office shall mutually schedule their case collaboration and the frequency of meetings depending on the case at hand. No? So ito, medyo wala naman tayong nakaset na schedule, no, in relation to case collaboration. Ito yung kung kakailanganin at kung kailan kailangan. Okay? So, hindi siya pwedeng sabihin na, oh, we have case collaboration on a monthly basis. Nagdedepende kasi siya doon sa hinahanap na pamamaraan o doon sa kung paano natin mas matutulungan yung ating mga counselees. So, pagdating sa case collaboration, it may be as tedious as a daily, siguro baka mayroon daily or weekly na schedule on case collaboration. That depends on the case na hinahandle natin. And then very critical, also mentioned by Sir Mark earlier, about the counseling plan. No? I know in the Philippines, there are some issues regarding the counseling plan. Kasi nga, what if limited lang yung time or meron lang tayong possible na kinakailangan na bigyan ng intervention right there and then. So how can we do the counseling plan? And I hope you realize na napaka-importante nito, no? Hindi lamang siya dahil yun ay nakasulat or dahil yun ay kinakailangan based on the DM, no? Pero the counseling plan will actually lead you to a better solution or to a better intervention, no? Kasi maaring dito din makita natin through the case collaboration that they have other suggestions in relation dito sa intervention and counseling plan natin depending on the situation or the case presented to us, no? So third, they may invite other mental health professionals such as psychologists, psychiatrists, and the like as deemed necessary while observing the confidentiality of the activity. Minutes of case collaboration meetings shall be ensured. No? So para may babalikan din tayo na sinabi ni ganito or sinuggest or the recommendation of the psychologist or the psychiatrist that we invited are this. No? So naka-list down din siya. Okay. So now we also have included or we included counseling supervision, no? So this is very kumbaga parang isa siya sa mga best practices na sana maisatuparan din natin sa Department of Education. So despite the scarcity of registered guidance counselors in the country, it is still imperative that the practice of counseling and referral be supervised as part of accountability measures that DepEd should promote. No? So very, very important yan. Hindi natin masasabi na laging tama o yung ating ginagawa bilang RGC o bilang guidance counselor ay ito na yun talagang pinakatamang gawin. Ano? We need to really look into supervision in relation sa ating counseling. So supervision must be appreciated as a professional service that provides technical assistance and not as an administrative or managerial role. No? So the counseling supervisor should act as a mentor that enables the guidance counselor to reflect on his or her practice, its effectiveness, and compliance to ethical standards. No? So sa counseling supervision, hindi porke mas matagal siyang guidance counselor, ay siya na yung best guidance counselor sa kabuuan. No? So there will be instances wherein meron talaga namang trained on counseling supervision na guidance counselor. Or meron din namang hindi natin siya titingnan as siya yung mas nakakataas or dun sa ranking, siya yung may pinakamataas dahil siya yung nagsusupervise. No. It is a professional service as well. Okay? And the supervision may be a formal and professional relationship between two or more guidance counselors. No? This enables reflection on the counseling case and how it is managed, while emotional and technical support is provided. Setting up clear parameters for the guidance counselor and the counseling work is imperative in the supervision practice. No? So, masakit man sabihin, pero may ilan tayong guidance counselors na since sila yung may pinakamaraming involvement, halimbawa sa division, I hope hindi naman sila lang din yung magkakaroon ng chance or ng pagkakataon na matap for counseling supervision. Mind you, yung mga babad talaga sa counseling or yung mga talagang ang function ay counseling or nagka-counseling talaga either in the school, the communities, marami silang dala-dala o baon, no? So we can also tap them, no? So sabi ko nga kanina, hindi lang basta-basta registered guidance counselor na makakapag-perform o makaka-perform ng counseling supervision. This is highly technical and this is a professional service. Okay, so an RGC should be supervised by a more experienced and advanced guidance counselor to ensure that the cases are being attended to properly, which involves the evidence-based practice of counseling within the Code of Ethics. No? So dapat very, very important, no? Yung kanyang experience at yung advancement niya in relation dun sa training and education, in relation sa guidance and counseling. Maybe you would ask me, what if meron tayong mga kasama halimbawa na ayaw ng counseling supervision, no? Or ayaw magkaroon ng counseling supervision. Siguro pag-isipan ninyong mabuti, no? Kasi this will not kumbaga yung growth din natin as guidance counselors would really be ensured kung meron tayong supervision, no? And then the counseling supervisor should periodically check the progress of the case and give the attending guidance counselor an area to examine how his or her own counseling goals are met. The developmental needs of the supervisee should be the basis of the supervisory relationship and process while observing ethical boundaries, no? So definitely sa supervision, hindi naman niya hahanapin yung counseling style niya sa inyo, no? Nire-recognize din niya na bilang guidance counselor, you have your own and alam niya yan at makikita niya yan dun sa progress din ng case. So, hindi ibig sabihin na i-dictate kung ano yung gagawin, but this counseling supervision would really guide you, okay, in order for you to perform your duty as a guidance counselor in a more efficient way, okay? Yung efficiency, yung quality ng ating services, no, na ibinibigay sa ating mga counselors. So each SDO must designate a guidance counselor supervisor who shall be an RGC and will provide technical assistance. His or her terms of reference are defined in the succeeding pages. Due to the different considerations and situations of all SDOs, they may designate more than one guidance counselor supervisor as deemed necessary. No? So again, case-to-case basis, we will not give you kung ano o ilan yung mga guidance supervisors na kakailanganin natin, guidance counselor supervisors, but they need to take into consideration the number of guidance counselors na kinakailangan na i-supervise doon sa specific division na yon. Okay, now, let's move forward to the responsibilities of each governance level. No? So who's involved in the counseling and referral system of learners for school year 2021-2022 in the different level of governance? So we have the school head. No? So the school head designate a guidance advocate in the absence of guidance counselor for school year 2021-2022. Naka-specify dyan that this is just a designation for a specific school year, no? Until we find siguro, say for example, by next year, we hope na mas maging regular na yung ating setup or normal yung ating setup, no? So, meron tayong face-to-face and we can train, no? Our guidance counselors or the guidance advocates as well. So for this year, for this school year, also in the other school year in 2020-2021, we have the designation. So it's a school level, the school head designates, and then he or she secures the implementation of counseling and referral services for learners. So walang magsasabi na school head na kaya napahamak yung bata or hindi nabigyan ng proper attention dahil wala siyang designated guidance counselor or wala siyang guidance advocate, no? Or guidance counselor in his or her school, no? So also the school head ensure the conduct of orientation for teachers, learners, and parents on counseling and referral, no? So dito, yung sinasabi nating orientation, not necessarily this type of orientation na binibigay yung kabuuan ng DM. When we say orientation for teachers, learners, and parents, ang kakaiba dito, ano yung ino-offer ng school? So prior to this, prior to the orientation, you need to meet your guidance counselor, the school head, the guidance counselor, the guidance advocate, and other guidance support services or guidance advocates, no, na maaari ninyong mahinga ng tulong, should plan ahead of time. Ano yung content ng orientation for your teachers, learners, and parents, no? So for the learners and parents, medyo madali siya. Kasi ang importante lang, malaman nila na meron tayong counseling and referral system, no? At merong access sila or they can access this particular service through what? Yung mga channels or yung mga platforms na maaari. O sino yung mga focal person in relation to this. And then for the teachers, sa orientation, you really need to look into their responsibility or their role in the counseling and referral, no? Malaki yung role ng teachers natin for the referral because they are the ones who's facing the students. Kumbaga sila yung talagang frontliners at nakakausap ng ating mga learners these days, no? I hope all guidance counselors also, if you're in school, tayo rin ay actively participating, no, doon sa ating mga through our preventive or the proactive programs in relation to mental health, no? And then the school head shall allocate budget for the materials and other related expenses for the conduct of the services and submit an annual report on the number and nature of cases handled by the guidance counselor in school, no? So if there will be problems in relation dito sa kawalan ng guidance counselor, you may also include in your report the number of cases that were referred to the nearest guidance counselor, if it's the nearest division, nearest school, or the nearest institution, no? So ilan yung mga ni-refer natin. That would be very helpful para sa ating pagbuo ng report na ito, ng annual report. And then in school also, assuming that there is a guidance counselor, the guidance counselor shall conduct counseling to learners. Okay? Na kailangan natin yan, na maintindihan that the only person, ayan, na who will or who can provide counseling services ay ang ating guidance counselors. So they need to document each counseling case being handled, as what have mentioned earlier by Sir Mark, and then provide referral services to outside mental health professionals when necessary. Yan yung kanina kong ibinigay. And then conduct a case consultation as deemed necessary, conduct a conference with learners, parents, or guardians, and make an annual report on the number of cases handled in their nature, no? Next, if the school doesn't have a guidance counselor, so meron tayong designated guidance advocate. So we have the guidance advocate shall facilitate learners to avail counseling and referral services from a registered guidance counselor designated in the division office or other mental health professionals. Disseminate information about mental health issues and conduct consultation with mental health professionals as deemed necessary, no? So dito, makikita natin ano yung kaya. So yung halimbawa, if it's counseling, yung pinag-uusapan natin, it would be directly from the guidance counselor. If it's the guidance advocate, counseling is a referral. Ayan, referral, kailangan natin ng referral mechanism on how we are going to refer our learners to our nearest guidance counselor or mental health professionals. So very important, yan, yung number 2, that the dissemination of information about mental health issues, no? Malaking tulong po ito halimbawa sa ating mga guidance counselors. Because the dissemination of this, marami po tayong mga resources na maaring magamit. At dito sa mga resources na to, habang itinuturo natin sa kanila about mental health and the mental health issues, nabibigyan din natin sila ng indirect na tulong para mas maintindihan nila kung ano yung nangyayari. So there are times na hindi na kailangan ng bata ng counseling because kahit papaano nagkaroon na siya ng idea kung ano yung kanyang nararanasan. May mga ganong instances that we accept na ide-deny niya or hindi siya magpapatuloy into counseling. Pero at least nagbukas tayo ng way or ng door or ng means para mas maintindihan niya o kahit papaano magkaroon siya ng idea kung ano yung nangyayari sa kanyang sarili. No? That's through the dissemination of information. Okay, how about in the schools division office? In the schools division office, the school division superintendent shall ensure that all school heads have a guidance counselor or at least have an assigned guidance advocate. No? So the SDS should designate a guidance counselor to cater to the mental health concerns of learners from schools depending on the availability of RGCs and the number of schools in the division level, no? So again, it's still a designation, no? And then ensure partnerships with institutions and hospitals that provide psychiatric or mental health services for learners. So dito sa Schools Division Office, kinakailangan kahit papano familiar tayo doon sa mga institutions and hospitals and other mental health services na maaring meron tayo sa community or in the nearest community. Yan yung mga pwede nating itap for partnership. Iwas lang po tayo doon sa mga mag-o-offer ng mental health services na ang target lamang halimbawa ay magbigay ng technical assistance and then we'll pay for them, we'll pay for their services, no? So medyo iwas tayo dyan. Tingnan natin, baka may iba tayong iba pang resources na maaari nating ma-avail or other organizations na maaari nating matap as our partner, no? Kasi medyo magiging limiting ulit kung meron tayong involved na kailangan bayaran or meron tayong mga we need to ensure that, no? Yun yung mga katotohanan na itong mga partner institutions natin, they provide us with the services nang hindi naman tayo masyadong kumbaga parang yung mga learners natin, alam din natin yung sitwasyon nila. So baka yun pa yung maging reason kung bakit hindi sila mag-a-avail ng service na yon. So we need to be open about that also. That when we partner with them, may mga ganon tayong pangangailangan, no? Lalong-lalo na para sa ating mga learners. And then establish linkages with other government offices, NGOs, and groups related or relative to the mental health needs of schools. Designate a guidance counselor supervisor in the division level and ensure support and monitoring of the counseling and referral services, no? So napaka-importante nito. Dito sa pag-establish nga ng linkages natin, we need to take into consideration the mental health programs na maaring makatulong sa atin na pinoprovide ng other government agencies. So we can tap them and the link with them, also the non-government organizations who are all willing or who are willing to handle or to at least provide us with some of the information na maaari nating kailanganin in relation sa mental health services, no? We also have counseling organizations na maaari nating itap, no? They have chapters sa iba't ibang region. So baka pwede makipag-link din tayo doon para meron din tayong possible organizations na matatap in relation to mental health. And then in the schools division office, say for example, meron na tayong designated guidance counselor. So when we say designated guidance counselor, he or she should be an RGC, no? So first, conduct counseling to the learners, referred or walk-in, and then document each counseling case being handled. Provide referral services to outside mental health professionals when necessary. Conduct case consultation as deemed necessary. Conduct conference with learners, parents, or guardians, and make an annual report on the number of cases handled in their nature, no? Also, in the schools division office, other than the designated guidance counselor, you have the designated guidance counselor supervisor, no? So kanina ibinigay ko yung importansya ng counseling supervision, no? So dito nakalagay ano naman yung role ng ating guidance counselor supervisor. First is that they act as a mentor that enables the guidance counselor to reflect on his or her practice, its effectiveness, and compliance to ethical standards. And then facilitate the parameters of counseling supervision, periodically check the progress of the case, and give the attending guidance counselor an area to examine how his or her own counseling goals are met. and then consider the developmental needs of the supervisee in conducting supervision sessions. Okay. In the regional office, ayan, the regional office shall designate a focal person who is preferably a registered guidance counselor to oversee and monitor the implementation of counseling and referral services in the SDO level. No? So he or she shall support counseling and referral services in the division level, ensure proper implementation of the counseling and referral services in collaboration with the health services unit, and submit the consolidated report of the division offices on the number of cases and their nature to the national office. No? So this is actually an annual report na nakalagay na lahat. But definitely, doon sa report natin, you might want to include also some of the interventions done in order to help itong halimbawang may mga learners na may ganitong common behavior, common concern, no, for the school year, no. So that is the content of the consolidated report. And in the national office, ayan, so the curriculum and instruction strand shall lead the implementation of the counseling and referral services for school year 2020-2021. Specifically, the Bureau of Curriculum Development shall lead the planning, preparation, implementation, and monitoring of the counseling and referral services. Okay. That ends my presentation. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, speakers, for endowing us with immense knowledge. That's amazing! At this juncture, the table is now open for any questions, clarifications, or suggestions that you have in mind. Who would like to ask? Anyone? To end the program, let us hear from Ma'am Virginia Ifondo, Guidance Counselor of Grade 10. The world moves in fast pace that brings a lot of uncertainties and challenges along the way. To combat this, it is imperative to keep abreast and calibrate ourselves. With all the information and learning acquired today, that fuel us to face the world even braver and more confident. This has been Efren Escoila, your host for today's event, saying, thank you for participating, God bless us all, and may you all have a good day.